So here we are at the finalization process for the image. Now, normally what I do in the finalization is three-step process. First of all, I would look again at the whole image and see if there's anything I can, fix or improve. Maybe, while I was working, I lost track of something. And, it's now the right time to, fix any mistake or improve any area. Anyway, the second step would be to match a little bit better the colors here and there. I don't know, a little bit of, a yellow even on the other areas. Even if this is part of probably the first step, but it's about colors. So the second step, I would say, is a little bit of color grading. So I don't know, you can fix the blue of the sky. Maybe you like it more blue, or the green, you need less green, and so on. You need to change the color of the wood, anything related to color. Okay. And because, the color is so important because it helps to focus the attention in some areas. You can even think about weakening some of them, and so you can use a hue saturation and go down with the saturation in some areas more than others. So maybe, I don't know, you want to keep the focus area with a little bit more of strength in terms of color. Okay. And the last thing you can do is camera raw, because camera raw is a filter here, and it's extremely powerful because it gives you many options. You can have full control over your image, and it's a must because if you work in the way I show you, the file you were working on is still 16-bit. So camera raw works great with a 16-bit file, and you can I don't know, show things that were hidden, or anyway, control everything in a more accurate way. And I always do that as a final step. Maybe you don't have to do so much. Maybe you have just minor adjustment to do, but anyway, it's a great tool, and there's options that you can't have in any other way. Okay, so let's see first a few things we can fix and improve on the image itself before going for the color grading and the camera raw. So first of all, one thing I've noticed that we had kind of wrong is the reflection of the glass of the windows. And let me explain. We know that when we have glasses, something happens. So it could be, you can have a reflection, or you can see through the glasses, and you can, see through the glasses or get a strong reflection because of the view angle. So because of the Fresnel effect. So glass is a dielectric, so frontally you see less, and on the side you should see a little bit more. And this is one effect. Another effect, because of the light on the other side. Okay, so the rule said that if you have a strong light inside, so if you have a strong light on the other side of the glass, the reflection should be very, very weak. Okay, otherwise, if you have a strong light on this side, then the reflection should be strong. And now the problem is this rule works in both cases. This works, even if we are inside or outside. And that means that in this case, we just make the reflection weaker on the inside because of the dark areas we have in the inside. But, we still have a strong light on the outside, especially where the reflection of the sky is. And right now, the reflection is weak even there. So what we need to do is this. We need to go back into the adjustments. We're looking for the glasses. Here we go. This is the overall reflection. Yes. We open it and we just see that we have the Fresnel effect, with this mask on the first group, which means that on the sides, the reflection should be, a little bit stronger. and then we have the the reflection because of the amount of reflection because of the light on the inside. Okay, so this should be I mean, you can see that the reflection is basically weaker, where on the inside we have a very bright area, and then we have the reflection itself, and it's masked because of the mask of the glasses. But as you can see, we are missing the last transparency with the last reflection control, which is the amount of reflection because of the light on our side. So long story short, the reflection should be very strong here where the sky is reflected. Okay, so what to do? Well, we can just go back in here when we have where we have the reflection itself, and instead of making the reflection the overall reflection 23% visible, we go back to 100%, and immediately you can tell this is wrong, this is too much, this is too visible. But what can we do? Well, we can just go inside here and select the entire reflection. Oops, sorry. We can select the entire reflection, and then, which is made by these layers here, the old reflection, the floor of the new reflection, the background of the new reflection, and so on. We select them all and we press Ctrl Alt E, so we can merge them all in just one layer. And then we take this new layer, but this thing here, you should do this at the end, okay? Because you should have the final reflection, okay? If you change the reflection, then you have to do this again, and that's why we're doing it right now. And now we get a black layer at the bottom. So we make a new layer, Shift F5, and we fill it black. And this layer now goes merged with this one. But first we take away the colors, just pressing Shift Ctrl U. And with the saturate, we merge them together. And this is the final mask. So we go to the channels, we Control click one of the three channels, because, if we have a black and white map here, 3 channels looks the same. So we Control click to get the selection. We don't need this anymore. We go back in here, and in a upper group, I would say, we just mask this. And as you can see now, the reflection looks a lot better because it's stronger where the sky is brighter. And we can even select the mask itself here and go down with the intensity, you see, to make everything a little bit darker, a little bit brighter, so more visible. Or we can Control M, we can press Control M, and when you press Control M, basically you get the curves. These are destructive, so if you press OK, then you get what you get. But at least we can control, you see here, the amount of, the brightness and the contrast of the mask itself. So we can push a little bit more, everything to the bright side. So we contrast this, we take the bright, the point to the bottom. So everything white is a little bit like gray, so it's less visible. Anyway, I like this result a lot more. And I feel, it's even more realistic than before, okay? And then maybe you can do some adjustment because, this reflection of the floor is too visible. So you can just go down with an opacity, a brush, black brush, and then we can just delete a little bit of that because it was too visible and too strong. Remember that even if you, of course, rely on the software to do things like this, then you have to trust yourself and do the last bit yourself, eyeballing it. Now I was looking at this, the Fresnel reflection. Now it looks like this is wrong because we can see more reflection on the front than on the side, so this is kind of wrong, so we can invert this. But of course, now it's too dark, and so we can go down with the density. And you see now it's even better, so the reflection is less stronger here and more strong here. I don't know why. I probably misclicked and I probably made a mistake. Sorry for that. But now you see, now it works a lot better, and I like the reflection a lot more. Okay. Another thing we can do here Oh, beside this, we can delete this layer. It doesn't work anymore, it doesn't need anymore. Another thing I do into the finalization is to add another layer here. So a new layer in finalization and fill it with black color and put this in color dodge. Why that? Because I want at the end to paint a little bit more of light, by hand in a very, very, very subtle way, okay? And so I will go down with the opacity a lot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, a little bit like here, you see, just to have a little bit of, just to take a little bit of attention there, just to say, okay, I want your eyes to go there. And, it's maybe it's not correct from a technical point of view, but from a storytelling point of view, I love it. So it really works, and it gives my, it gives me the ability to call your attention exactly where I want it. Okay, you see. So if you don't do this, maybe everything is too like flat, and you want to be in control of the image, and where people should look at first of all. And so in this way you can have the final word, the final decision on where someone should look at. Okay, and that's it. So this is something I do every time, and I feel like to be in control of what I'm doing a little bit more. And of course, if you want to people to look here in the center of the image because this is the focus of the image, don't do this everywhere else. Okay, so try to use this on and to be something that strengthens the image, not that weakened image. Okay, so this is something else. Okay, and then we can start doing some color grading. Now this is not mandatory, but it's it's something you can do, especially if you work, as I told you, keeping the contrast for last. Okay, now we work on the contrast of many objects here and there during this post-processing exercise. But anyway, if you feel like that your image is still like grayish, that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. And if you have a 16-bit, then you can go for a curve and say, okay, I want to work on the contrast of the final image. Just take the normal blend mode to luminosity, so you're not going to change the saturation of the colors. And then you need just to apply a contrast. And if you don't want to do it manually because you feel like, oh, maybe I made it too strong or wrong, you can use a preset here. And for example, the linear contrast, you see, is very, very, very subtle, but it works a lot. So you see, it's just subtle thing, but it works. And if you have the Z depth, you can just mask this away from everything which is far away. Okay, so now I don't have the Z depth open, but I can go here in the passes, for example, and you see this is the Z depth. I can use this one. I can make it visible. I can put a curve here. I can make everything brighter like this. Okay, and I can Control-Alt-Shift-E, make a new layer, channels, Control-click. Now this is not mandatory to make a new layer, but it's a habit, so I have it. And who knows, maybe I need it again. And then I go here and I just I Control-I, so I invert this, and I Control-I again when I deselect. So now everything is contrasted but not behind the building, so everything close to us. Okay, another idea could be to put another curve and make it a little bit darker, but only the foreground. So I will just put a gradient here and mask everything else, you see, just to have a linear gradient like this one. So you see we have a little bit of dark area in the front, which is not bad at all. And it pushed the eyes toward the image in the center, which is very good. It's not mandatory, but it's something that helps. And if you do it in a very subtle way, nobody will notice that, but everybody will be, I would say, biased by that. Okay. And then we can do some, weird stuff here with curves again. Now, this is not mandatory again, but it's just a way to show you that you can use curves to modify the overall look of your image in some sort of Instagram filters if you want. Okay, now don't go home and say, oh, Roberto is teaching me how to ruin my images with Instagram filters. I just want to show you that you can. Okay, I'm not telling you to do it. But for example, if you take the red channel and you contrast the red channel, okay, and if you do the same with the green channel, you contrast the green channel, okay, you see you get this kind of vintage effect, and you can do the same with the blue. But if you go up with the blue and you uncontrast the blue, you get this yellowish purple look, and maybe it's too strong, but who knows, maybe you can go down to 10%, 20%, and you can use this only maybe in color mode, to keep this only in the colors or in the hue and not in the luminosity, so you don't have the contrast from this, you just change the color from this. And I don't know, maybe your image was too flat, too dull or gray, and maybe you want to add a little bit more of crazy colors inside, you can use curves. And in the same way, you can use color lookup, but color lookup are kind of very strong LUT, but there are curves anyway. Okay, so for example, I don't know, normally if I have to do something like a very an image that looks like an illustration, and I don't like to have dark black shadows, I go for foggy night color lookup, and then I change the blending mode to lighten, and in this way you can see only the very dark areas are basically bluish, and I love this very much. And I don't keep this 100%, maybe I keep it like, I don't know, 50%, and it helps to avoid black areas. And again, there is no such a magic formula to tell you what to do right now in the finalization. I can just show you some tricks, and then you can try yourself and elaborate or use whatever you need. Most of the time I feel like I need to do finalization as a first thing when I open an image and everything is there. Maybe one of those images where everything is 3D, I just start with the finalization to see, okay, this is where I want to go, this is the final result. And then when I'm done with the finalization, I just turn it off, because I know where my result will be, and then I go back and do everything else, and then I have the finalization ready, and I can just turn on the group and everything is done. Okay, another thing you can do is, for example, to use the black and white filter. And the black and white filter, this come up from an age like 10 years ago, where I was working with V-Ray, and all my renders were looking like a little bit like flat and grayish and probably too colorful. And so I felt like that if I had something that contrast and desaturate the final result, everything would look better. And if you do this with the black and white, you can control the amount of brightness for each color, but at the same time you can take the black and white and put in an overlay, and you get this over contrasted look, but also desaturated. And you can go down with the opacity of this, and you can control the the brightness of each color, and this can generate very, very cool result, awesome result. And you don't have to get crazy, because everything is there in front of your eyes, and you can just change the brightness of the different colors, and stop where you're happy. Now this works very well where when the image, the final image before the finalization is pretty gray. Okay, because now it's the contrast, I have a good contrast, so this black and white filter in overlay is probably too strong. That's why we can go down to 20% or something. But normally it will makes a difference if you are good enough to keep your render uncontested till the end. Okay, so what that means, it means that your render, your final image, will keep as many informations as it can. Okay, so if you see something gray, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It means that probably you have a lot of information there ready to be shown by something like this adjustment. Okay, so this is another idea. And another thing you can do is, for example, to if you want to work on the white balance, I would say, let's call it like this, or the tint of your light and shadows, you can just make a print screen of your image like this, and then desaturate it, right? Control Shift U, and then in the channels you can control click one channel to get the mask, and in here we have a mask of every bright area of the image. And so I can use a color balance, and then I can go with the red and the yellow, for example, and this will just turn every bright area a little bit more red and a little bit more yellow, so a little bit more orangey. And then you can do the opposite. So you can Control J to duplicate this and invert the mask. And in this way, you're going to control the shadows. And you can do the opposite with the shadows. You can just go a little bit more bluish or cyan or whatever. And of course, you can control those masks by Control M. You select the mask, Control M, and then you have a more control. You have a curve, so you can contrast them. You see, if you want. And same for the light one. So you have basically like a more sharp areas where these effects is going to be visible. Again, you can select them all. Make a group. This is like, I don't know, color balance, and then take the group opacity and go down. Okay. And little by little, you get something different. You get something slightly different, but you need to be in control of what you're doing. So that's why I normally make an effect, have something that I like, and then go down with the opacity, because probably it's too strong. Because I feel like that when I do something, in the first moment is too strong, and so that's why I go down with the opacity. Okay, and so this is the first thing. Okay, you can do. Another thing you can do, which is very similar to the color dodge black layer, is to add another layer in screen mode this time, and with a very, very, very small, okay, and like medium hardness brush. Okay, I want to go and zoom in. This is the only time when I zoom in. All right, and I can just paint a few speculars if I feel I need it. Okay, so very small brush, pretty strong opacity, and then you can just paint a little bit of speculars here and there. And at the end, as everything, you go down with the opacity. Okay, or you can just do this at the beginning, and it's a nice way to define areas and say, okay, here we get a nice specular, here we get a nice reflection. And sometimes it's nice because you feel like that you are just underlining or making more visible areas that should be visible, should be more visible, especially specular, chamfers. Okay, that's where you get the specular. Again, this is not mandatory, but it's something that you can try. And one thing you can try, it's also to avoid to have the same strength over and over again. So if you use a pen, now I'm not using a pen, and you can tell the problem is that the strength of this line is constant, and that's not good. So if you're working on a pen with a pen, you can just let the pen just use less pressure and modify the thickness and the visibility of a line like that. If you don't have a pen, just put a mask on this, and with the very big brush, very low opacity. Maybe you can, just paint a little bit of black, you see, to just keep the specular only somewhere and not everywhere. This is the same thing you can do on the water if you want, for example, to have some, to underline, you have some ripples, some waves there. It makes sense. It makes sense. Don't overdo that, because it could be very visible if you exaggerate, and that's it. Okay. So now we are going to see in the next video how to use the camera raw, which is here. And in order to work with the camera raw, the only thing you need to do is to make a new Ctrl-Alt-Shift-E, a stamp of the image over everything else. And remember, the Ctrl-Alt-Shift-E command to make a new layer is working only if you do that, and if you select a group or a layer which is actually visible. If you select something which is not visible and you press Ctrl-Alt-Shift-E, nothing happens. Okay, so this is the starting point. You make a new layer, and we're going to see this in a new video.